Hey YouTube, how's it going? KSM Dragons here, bringing you a new profile put together. It's a mix of the Adamancipators and the fossil types. Kind of built as a primarily going second deck because all the fossil fusions are about battle phases and just trying to get the most damage to your opponent. Obviously, I can build a first turn one board, but it's not really built for that. So I'm just going to take you through the profile. What I'm really looking for in the community is to reach out for ideas and comments on the deck on what to change or what you think is good and what I can cut out. Cool. So take you through the deck profile and you can let me know. So starting off with the sort of smaller Adamancipators, I'm playing 3 of each. So 3 of the Researcher, 3 of the Seeker, and 3 of the Analyzer. All have the same effect in terms of executing 5 cards off the top of your deck, special summon a level 4 rock or lower. Obviously, Researcher you can special summon if you've got a rock on the field. The Seeker, if you had a Adamancipator on the field, you can special summon it. And Analyzer if your opponent controls a monster and you don't control any. So because of that, I'm playing some of the crystals as well. So I'm playing 1 of the Raptite Crystal, 1 of the Leonite Crystal, and 2 of the Dragonite crystals. And the reasons I'm playing these is because I want the different attributes in the graveyard so I can get the effects off the synchro monsters, because they're actually pretty good to kind of finish on if you have to on a turn 1 board. Like, it is definitely breakable, but you should survive to then be able to go into the next turn and then do all the fossil fusion plays and then OTK your opponent. So that's why I'm playing these. And then to follow up for the level 4 rock types, I'm playing 2 of the Supplier. I'm playing 2 because each of the effects are once per turn. And, you know, it's the way it works. So if you have 1 in your hand, it's great because if a rock monster leaves the field, it can special summon it. And if it's special summon, you can add a Kokimaru card to your hand. And then for that case, then I'm playing 1 Sandman. So he's got the effect of he contribute himself to negate a trap, which is actually pretty useful as imperms, obviously very relevant in this format. So that's why I picked him over the other one. And then I'm playing 3 of the Guardian, which is the monster effect, which is just really good to have as well. Then I'm playing 2 of the Weathering Soldier. Now this is your search, so this is your main target to send off Miracle Rapture, which will then end up searching your Fossil Fusion to your hand, or card that saves Fossil Fusion, so you can get any of the Fossil Fusion spell cards to your hand, which is really useful. Then I'm playing 2 of Doki Doki. I could probably up this to 3. It's actually a really good starter card. Like if you have this and any level 4 or the level 2s in your hands, you could summon this, discard it to get Analyze onto the field, and then just sort of combo from there. So I actually find it was a good starter, so just really good in that sense. And then that's it for the main monster cards. So then moving on to the spells, we've got 3 of the Emancipator Signs. This is such a good card. So that with the 3 Miracle Rapture, like this is so good. So if you use Miracle Rapture while you have Signs in your hand, you send any of the tuners. When you use Signs, it will allow you to summon them, but also stack your deck, and then you can use their effect and get what you want. So these 2 work so well together. And then if you don't need to stack it because you don't need to use this, then you can just use Miracle Rapture for what it's for, to send off the Weathering Soldier and then get any of the Fossil Fusion cards to your hand. So then moving on to the Fossil Fusions, I'm actually playing 3 of the Fossil Fusion. 1 of the Specimen Inspection and 1 of the Time Stream. This card, the Specimen Inspection, is actually really good. So the point of it is to set up your opponent's graveyard, so then you can use your Fossil Fusion and banish from their graveyard and bring out the fusion monsters that you need. And it's actually really good if you're playing against, like, you need to know the meta, you need to know what you're playing. So if you're playing against a dino player, you're going to target their conductor. You're going to go level 10 dinosaur, and they're going to have to send that to the graveyard, whether it's from their hand or deck. And then you can banish it with Fossil Fusion and then make one of your more powerful fusion monsters. if you're playing against any like Dogmatica decks, you can send their 90'd off to the graveyard and banish it from there. So you just be like level 8 spellcaster. If you're playing an Eldritch deck, you can get them to send their Golden Lord to the graveyard and then banish it. So that's get rid of 1, most play 2. So it's a really good way to get rid of a card. So it does really require you to know the meta, but it is a really powerful card. And the only reason I play at 1 is because the setup requires you to have this, a Fossil Fusion, and then a rock monster in your hand. So there is a bit of setup for it, but if it works, it is really powerful and you can do some really good stuff with this. So it's a really good card, so I just wanted to sort of call that out. And then Time Stream just allows you to sort of rank up your fusion to the next fusion level, which is quite good. And then carry on with the spells. I've got 3 triple tactics. Because you are going second, your opponent will interact with your board in some sort of way as you're trying to set up, so it's just a really useful card. Playing 1 Harpy's Feather Duster just for back row hate, and then to finish off the deck, I've got 3 Imperm as well. I was probably going to put 3 Nibiru as well, just so I have another hand trap. So that'll take the deck to like a 43 card deck, but I think that's okay for Adamancipators because your main guys are always like excavating off the top of the deck. It doesn't really matter, like you're going to search for your deck a lot, so like it's fine to have that. Moving on to the extra deck, so I'll play 1 each of the synchros, so 1 of the Dragites, 1 of the Leonite, and 1 of the Raptite. So I'll play 1 of each. They're actually quite good to just build a board of these 3 and just kind of go from there. Because Raptite will give you a DD Crow as long as there's a wind monster in the graveyard. Leonite gives you a monster reborn. So if you have a Quaker Guardian on field, which is the monster negate, it tributes. It's not once per turn. So if you tribute it and then you've used an Ash, like, or the fire, so you can add Ash to the deck as well, sorry. And then you get a monster reborn. So then you can bring the Guardian back and have another monster negate on the field. So it's actually really good in that sense. And then Dragite is the spell and trap negate, which is just really good. So that's it for the synchros. I'm not playing like the whole Firebrax engine. I do play Firebrax, but just more just to get another tuner out onto the field. Like if I have a tuner, it gets ashed or veiled or something, or impermed, then this is just a way to get another tuner out of my deck. So I'll play 2 XEs, 1 Gallant Granite, obviously for the searches, and 1 Dweller. This is just if I have to make a turn 1 board. Like, I really just prefer to make maybe an IP and Dweller pass. And it's nothing unbreakable, but a lot of the meta relies on the graveyard at the moment. Turning off the graveyard and having a disruption on your opponent's turn is actually quite powerful. And it's enough to see you through to your next turn. Like, even for like Dragon Link, that will stop a lot of it as well, turning off their graveyard. Invoke Dogmatica, turning off the graveyard hurts them a lot. Eldritch, you know, once again, turning off the graveyard hurts them. Even Dinos, like, turning off the graveyard hurts them a lot. So, like, just a Dweller IP can work out pretty well. So then, moving on, I'm playing 1 each of the 5 fusions for now. And this is just to kind of figure out which are the best ones to use and kind of go from there. So I've got both of the level 4s. Skullbone allows you to battle twice, and then you can banish it to add Time Stream to your hand once it's in the graveyard. And then the Dragger, it's a larger body, but you can banish it to add a Fossil Fusion to your hand. A Skullbone you can just make with any rock monsters, but Dragon Skullguard requires you to use your opponent's graveyard, so you know, it just depends on the setup you have. And then they've only got 1 level 6, so I've only been playing 1 of the Skull Knight. It is a good card in its own right. You can banish it from the graveyard, destroy a card in the field. It's made of 5 or 6, which in today's meta is not as common, so it's actually quite hard to make sometimes. But it's there if you need it, and obviously if you've got the Time Stream, you can rank up 1 of the 4s. And then for the level 8s, I'm playing 1 of the Skull King. It's got a great effect in terms of it can monster reborn from your opponent's graveyard. And there's no conditions like it's destroyed or you can't use this effect or it can't attack or anything like that. It's just a simple, quick effect, discard a card, monster reborn from one of your opponent's graveyard. And because it is a quick effect, you can chain it to your opponents. So I think Eldritch is like a great example of this. Like if they chain any of their trap cards, which is going to summon the Eldritch back onto the field, like you can just chain Skull King and bring it out to your field instead. And it's actually a really powerful kind of way to get rid of some of your opponent's key cards. And then the last one I'm playing is the Fossil Dragon Skull Gios. I think that's right. This one's a bit nutty. So once again, it's a level 8 you need to make it with any rock monster. But when it attacks your opponent's monster, they all inflict piercing damage, by the way. But when this attacks your opponent's monster, you can switch its attack and defense. So to get the most damage. And then any battle damage it does to an opponent's monster is doubled. So it's got a 3500 attack. If you switch it with your opponent's monster and they've got like a 0 defense or 0 attack, you can literally do 7000 damage to them in one attack, which is just insane. So this is the sort of fossil cards at the moment. So I'm just trying to make the most of them. Moving on to the links. So IP, as I mentioned before. Cross Sheep, just because you are playing fusions, you can get the monster reborn back and go from there. 1 Nightmare Unicorn for the IP. 1 Appaloosa, if I really have to make a turn on board. 1 Access Code Talker for the OTK, if I can't get the Fossil Engine going. So that is the extra deck. So that's the deck, guys. I play tested it a bit against my mate who's playing Dinos. It was kind of like 50-50 win ratio, like depending on who went second, because obviously we both wanted to go second. So it was actually quite good, and the times where I had to go first was able to make good interruptions to then move the game on. So it is a good deck. It's really fun. I am fine tuning it. I definitely think it can be a very good maybe tier 2, 2.5 choice. But I'm going to keep messing around with it, keep iterating, and just try and make it better. So I hope you liked the video, guys. Please like, comment, and subscribe. See you next time.